if he's willing to. And then I can ask her too. She's Cafe Coupon.
Hi.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Come on in.
Cool.
Yeah, so we can see at the end how they're feeling.
Bag.
Sweet.
Lots
And
of
then it's
stuff,
so there's gonna be a whole presentation.
Yeah, it's only gonna be like 20 minutes, and then we're just gonna open up to questions. We're trying to keep it short and sweet so people don't fall asleep because it's dry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be quick. Quick. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
If you need anything, let me know. Help yourself to this stuff. And this is Anthony, and if you have tech questions, he'll probably be able to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not awake. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Yeah, right there. To the right. Did I turn this on already?
Do you have your phone still with you?
No, I said it by Anthony. Why, what's up?
No, I just want to make sure that comes up because I'm going to repeat that site to everybody. It does.
It should, yeah. Move forward. Hang on, I gotta slide this a little bit. She's saying we're too far back behind the pole. Is that better?
Who's saying that to you?
Heather. Ooh. Oh, there's more people than I thought there'd be for now. Oh, did I screw up the... Is that better?
I could understand. Yeah, for this side of the room, we're too
Yeah.
far.
I mean, we can
but
pull...
for him, are we sure we're not screwing him up?
I don't think by moving forward. Anthony, can I pull this way a little bit? Yeah? Is that good? I think that's better. Yeah, he can see you. You want this?
Yeah, what's the change button?
Just these arrows on the right and left.
Okay. Everybody can see that screen.
Yeah, and he's got it in the, I think he's got it in the frame too. Yeah, he's filming over there. And then I think the only thing like at the end that we have to make sure one of us does on the mic is if somebody here asks a question, we have to repeat it because he won't be able to hear it. Yeah.
Those questions. Can we take people in the audience?
Which to be honest, at the end, I can even like ask like, hey, you know, as if any, or when you open it up to questions, I can also just repeat it so you're not doing all the, I don't know, what do you want to do?
Start off to him. Gerharz.
Yeah.
Welcome you today for attending New York State Polystyrene Ban
Okay.
seminar. What do you want to call it? Webinar?
Seminar? Town, or we were calling it town hall.
Town hall.
And then I can just say that you're the, are you the state sales manager?
No, I
Area?
have to say.
Okay.
Just say Western and Central New York.
Okay.
What do you guys call yourselves now? Sir, do you call yourself Central New York or Western New York?
Central. Yeah.
People in Rochester say Western.
Yeah, we say central.
Well, definitely say Western.
What does Albany say? Capital?
Capital District.
Yeah.
And is Albany here. Capital District, they'll say.
I try to do up here, and she wouldn't. Yeah, great.
So this way is to the, let me practice right. So that's what's about here.
Yep. And then it cues up what the next one is. There's more people. Oh, a lot of staff. So the 3 women back there work here. Mike works here. Alan, who's sitting. He's a customer. I don't know who that is.
These guys,
So, customer, yep.
gentleman in black jacket.
Customer, yep. So 1, 2. Bud's technically a customer, sort of. He did. Scott did sign some, or did. He's basically promoting us too as like a secondary option to Johnson. Like if somebody needs something that Johnson can't get. I will later. I didn't know that.
100%.
Yeah. Really?
100%.
Oh, then we can take him all. He can come here.
All those side deals that you do when it's Kristen's people.
Right. Yeah.
What you want, because you're just taking money out of his pocket.
Yeah.
When you are a publicly traded company,
Yeah.
the pocket stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
stuff like that.
DSC got bought too.
DSC was bought by a company in that same genre.
It is there a
but
shit show.
They're going to focus in on.
They're terrible.
They're going to be competitors soon. This is what you want. And I've told everybody that make sure they don't know who their customers are, because DSC had a street sign, which was all on the East Coast, and New Jersey they did all the nursing homes and restaurants and everything. And then they created a redistribution unit where they came out of their market, because no one in their market would buy from them, because it'd be like you buying from Mini.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
nobody in their marketplace would buy from them. So they went outside of their market.
Really?
This area, yeah, created DSC. It's called Eastern Mag and Paper. Eastern Mag and Paper was bought by Imperial Date,
Okay.
which is a street business account. They sell grocery and they sell street business. They sell restaurants, they sell
Yeah.
So we know they're going to eventually move in this area.
Yeah.
They're going to use whatever business they have with DSC and expanding this area.
I did know they went direct. I did know they went end user because even DSC would do it with some bigger accounts. Because Anthony was telling me stories about like when he took when he like approached Ithaca Bakery one-on-one and that kind of stuff. But they're having so many issues right now. They hired a while ago. Is it time? Yeah. We good? All right, Randy, you ready?
Morning.
Thanks for coming, guys. We appreciate it. Welcome to our town hall on the upcoming foam ban. This is Chris Trotta. He's the area sales manager for R3 Distribution, one of the biggest distributors in the world. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
So Kristen did a great job with the slideshow, and she actually started off with a question you can see right in the middle. What are you putting your food in? And fortunately or unfortunately for much of New York State and the operators, it's foam. It's expanded polystyrene. So New York State has enacted a law that you can all find on the website, which I want to make sure that you all go to that website. It's www.dec.newyork.gov. So again, that's dec.newyork.gov. And you can get more information on the law. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the highlights.
How many other states?
How many other states? There are others, but this is just New York State.
Yeah,
We're just
how many
focused.
others out of the 50 states, how many have?
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a little story about a counterpart in the Baltimore, D.C. area that went through this about 4 years ago. So I will address that, of another state that has it. But I don't know, probably a third, maybe, at this point, have done that, have done the expanded polystyrene book. So basically it's stating, to simplify it, is that foam won't be used in any packaging, okay? So let's go to the next thing. So what does the law actually say? And I'm going to kind of read from the slide here. Effective January 1st, 2022, no covered food service provider or store, retail or wholesale will be allowed to sell, offer for sale, or distribute disposable food service containers that contain expanded polystyrene foam in New York. And then it lists as far as what a covered food, but examples of it would be restaurants, caterers, temporary food service establishments, including mobile units, deli, grocery stores, cafeterias, coffee shop, nursing homes, schools, and colleges. So the law, basically when they enacted this law, they want to take foam out of our waste stream, okay, out of our waste system. They don't want it ending up in landfills and you know, clogging up streams, clogging up forests. So you could be for it or against it, you know, however you see it, but New York State's goal is to remove foam from our waste stream. Not just foam containers that many of us that are here today are concerned with, but even the packing peanuts, think anything that's foam. Foam coolers, foam, think of all those things. They want to remove those types of items from our waste stream. So what we want to do here today is kind of educate you on alternatives. It's not the end of the world. Many of us have used foam, you know, our entire careers for taking food product from our restaurant and getting it to our customers' homes, in a sense. So what we want to show you is alternates that are probably even better. They're more environmentally friendly, and you're going to see customers' reactions in that they're going to get a better food product in many cases over foam. Foam kind of can leave things soggy. You know, crispy foods won't remain crispy in foam. You're going to have some container options where you can really upgrade the experience for your customer as if they were almost dining right within your restaurant, within your establishment.
And there is a copy of the law in your folder in your bag too, if you need to see it.
Right, and there are some updates that happen on the website, so it's really good to check the website that I talked about, because they'll have some updates on that. So some of the options that we have, and when you talk about sustainable options, you want to make sure that you have three things in mind: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce if you can reduce the waste. You know, reuse if the container or the unit can be used again, and recycle if it can go in that blue bin in front of your house or in front of your business. That certainly is great, because then it's going to be used for something else. It's going to be ground up and maybe made into a different container or a different unit. So some of the options that we have, and we'll talk about them. We'll start with the first substrate. So there's different substrates that we're going to go from foam to something else. The first one is bagasse, sugar cane. You can have that same type of footprint that you had in the foam container, except it's made out of, in a sense, a paper-like product. Okay, so this is something that will break down a little bit better, and it certainly won't stay in a landfill as long as, say, foam does, because there's ways that this will break down. There's some positives and negatives to this, and we'll discuss a little bit when we move on later. So bagasse is one substrate, again, often made out of bamboo, sugar cane. There's a couple of different substrates that they use to make this type of container. The next one that you may have seen, it's actually mineral-filled polypropylene. So it's a product that is plastic, but it uses less fossil fuels. So in a sense, it still has that plastic feel. It still has that same footprint that we're all used to in the foam container, but it mixes in earth, and that's that MFPP, mineral-filled polypropylene. So you're using less fossil fuels and more earth, in a sense. This behaves like a plastic container. It has a perimeter seal all around it. It has a little bit of side venting on it, so it could keep crispy foods crispier than foam, because as we talked about, foam is a great insulator and can leave your fried food soggy, where this will definitely get the product to your customer crispier. Okay? And again, mineral-filled polypropylene. There was a big grocery chain in New York that actually was one of the first to use this, and they had a, let's call it when it was at its height, like a $6 meal, $6 meal, and now it's, you know, expanded into other things, but where you basically went to the counter and you picked the protein, you picked the starch, and you picked like a vegetable, and they served you. So many of you probably shopped there, and they were one of the first to use this mineral-filled polypropylene. It worked great for them, and so it's a great container. We'll talk some of the positives about this later. Also, paper food containers, right? You've all seen these types of containers. And you can actually, in many of them today, you can put a fully dressed salad in this. It's lined where it can handle moisture. You know, it's something that you might not want to store for, 5 days in your refrigerator if you're the customer taking it home. But again, you could put something in it, eat right out of it, whether it be at your office or your home, and it'll hold the product up, including a wet. We have listed on the chart here plastic deli containers, which you'll see in many places. You can take soups out and things. Plastic takeout containers. There's items that we could show you that have great microwavability. So anything that's polypropylene, it can handle the microwave up to 230, 240 degrees. And it'll allow that customer, including this mineral fill polypropylene, to reheat that back at their home or their office. Paper folded boxes. There's a couple of different choices of that, similar to this too also. Paper food trays, like the old checkered tray, right? We've all been to places, say even a bar or a carnival, and there's those old checkered food trays. You're going to see more and more operators using this when someone's going to be eating it, and they're not going to give it to them really to take home, but they'll eat it right at the bar or right at the restaurant in a paper container. And of course, good old foil, foil rounds and lids. We've all gotten takeout meals in a 7-inch or 8-inch or 9-inch round aluminum. And aluminum's an interesting substrate in that it's the most recycled material. And I'm going to show you a neat item later that's going to become very popular. You're going to see it. You're going to see it more and more that's made out of aluminum. So one of the things we want to kind of feature on, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. When you had asked me about other states. So when I first heard about this law being enacted, I called my counterpart who services the Baltimore, D.C., and Virginia area. And they were one of the first in this nation to have a foam ban, okay? So total foam ban, they didn't know what to do. So they were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to offer our customers? So they initially thought that bagasse was the answer, okay? They initially thought sugarcane, bagasse, and I asked them, I said, well, tell me about the restaurants in that area. And they go, we certainly, Baltimore, right, has seafood restaurants, and they have, all those kind of shore-type restaurants. But he said, our real takeout, the corner places are Asian, okay? They're not necessarily, they could be Chinese or Thai or Indian or, think of all the Asian countries that have different delicacies and cuisine. And he goes, that's kind of like the corner restaurant. I started thinking about it to try and summarize Western and Central New York. And if you, we certainly have Irish pubs in Asia, but if you were to say what's our main, if you include pizzerias and everything, it's probably Italian. So like his problem, our problem is there's a lot of saucy foods, right? There's a lot of foods that have sauce on it. So initially, right, this bagasse and sugarcane often feels like it's the most environmentally friendly. It feels like it's an easy go-to. But what happens, and for any of you that have taken leftovers home, right, and it's a saucy food, is that it starts to break down in your refrigerator. I mean, like me, if I bring home leftovers on a Saturday night home, which doesn't happen often, I usually eat everything. If I bring home leftovers and I get this type of a container, and let's say I'm going to bring it for lunch on Monday, what ends up happening is the container starts to break down, and you actually get like pilling. Does that ever happen to anybody? I mean, where you start eating maybe a little bit of the bottom of the container, because it does happen after a while. These bagasse and sugar cane containers break down in refrigeration and with the saucy food on it, and the lining starts to give. It's great when you first get it, but it eventually breaks down. And they don't have that perimeter seal. This is like foam in that it's not sealed all the way around, and it could tip and you could have some leakage. So why we're recommending going with the MFPP is that he said everybody, and again, this is Don in Baltimore that's telling me the story, he said, look, they went to this at first and they found that customers were not as satisfied with their takeout meal as they were even with the foam previously. So we ended up taking everybody to the mineral-filled polypropylene containers. Long term, that's what they went with. 4 years later, guess what they're selling? 50 to 1, more than that, over 50 to 1. They're selling this mineral-filled polypropylene. That's what their customers were used to the footprint, right? You know, 6x6, 9x6, 8x8, 9x9, all the footprints that you're using now in foam are available in this mineral-filled polypropylene. It is environmental in that it is certainly using less waste. You're using less fossil fuels, and you're able to take this, if you look, recycling symbol, you're able to put this in that blue bin in front of your house so that it can be made into something at a future date, something else at a future date. So it hits a lot of the things that you want to accomplish when you want a more environmental container. So I see you holding it there.
This is the brand Gerharz stocks?
We stock multiple brands. The reason that we are highlighting this one is because with the market right now, a lot of the other imports that we're bringing in, the prices are varying quite a bit.
This is the best sealed one. Everybody can tell you that uses one of the other ones.
Yeah.
It seals like shit.
And so Gerharz,
Really well.
yeah, so we made a significant investment to have a decent stock of these, so to be able to say, and in your folder, there's a price sheet for the stock that we have, and the price will hold while we have that. And we bought quite a bit, so hopefully ease that transition a little bit, because another feedback is, I mean, even the foam prices have skyrocketed in the last month or two. So pricing is a huge component.
And on all the sizes, with the exception of the 6x6, there's actually sidewall venting on it. Okay, there's little, you'll see, if you open that up, you'll see little divots on the side.
Oh, yeah.
So what that allows for is after you perimeter seal it, and let's say I'm bringing something saucy home, I just grabbed takeout from your restaurant, it's sitting on my front seat. If it were to tip a little bit, it's not going to get the sauce on my seat, or when I'm eating it, it's not going to get the sauce on my pants, or other complaints that you may have received with foam containers. But it does allow a little bit of steam to come out of that side to keep that food crispy. So it has that venting on the side, and that's a lot of that's a feature that you won't see in a lot of the competitive products that are out there. This does a great job.
Yeah.
And it gives you that seal, but still allows for
I've
some
seen
venting.
other ones that have venting on the top. Where you can
Right.
We have some of those as well, and then, but a lot of like,
seal, but you have that extra.
yeah, we have a couple that do, but they're, again, significantly more in price too, yeah.
I'm sure this is more than the cheesier ones. How's this compared to this? Pricing's sorry.
No, you're okay.
So, but gas currently is the least expensive option. It's still multiple times what foam is, but it's the least expensive option, and this MFPP is just a little bit more than that. But you'll find with the features and benefits that you're going to get out of the MFPP that it's worth paying that extra penny or two per unit to have a better customer experience. I mean, at the end of the day, you want your customer returning for their takeout food. You want them to return and say, man, I had a satisfying takeout experience at this restaurant, and that's what it's all about. You don't want to serve them a sloppy mess that they're bringing back to their
How
to
many
their
states
restaurant.
do you cover for RG, R3?
We cover
You
all.
yourself, I mean.
Me myself, I cover two.
And are you only talking to distributors? Do you talk to end users too?
We do not.
You're just talking to the distributors?
Correct.
I was just wondering if you're seeing what I'm suggesting people to do even before the ban, but you need to charge for to-go.
That's correct. What you're going to have
You charge
increased
$1,
costs over
$2.
foam.
You gotta
That's 100% correct. So you're definitely going to have a higher cost to package that takeout meal over what you're doing now with foam, and you need to build that in the cost of your price. If you want to have a separate takeout price, that's fine, or add it into your overall menu cost.
Everybody's POS system can just add $1, $2, whatever. At the
Whatever
end.
it is, and you're going to find that you don't need to even do that with this. You could be under 50 cents
Right.
and have a much better experience than that perfectly insulated mushy product you're giving them sometimes in that foam container. You're gonna see the customer satisfaction level go up on these containers. So, want to stress that these items are fully in stock here. They're readily available in a variety of sizes and colors. I think the black looks fantastic. The white looks great. It's a clean white look. The black has that upscale look. So they're both, fully available and, ready for shipment. So it's a great way to replace your foam. And get your customers used to this now, right? Instead of giving them the foam, start with this. Even though you could carry foam right up to the end of the year if you want to wait till the last minute. But I would get your customers prepared now, get your pricing in play, you know, whatever you're going to have to add to the cost of that takeout experience, and get them used to it, right? This is the time to do it. January rolls around, you have the proper package for them, and you have your pricing structure all set in your menu. And, you know, I suggest doing it now.
What's the biggest they make of this?
9 by 9.
9 by 9 right now.
Nobody makes it 10 by 13?
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
Not yet. There are some other options that we could talk about in a 10 by 13 in other substrates.
Okay.
There's other plastic containers that are strictly polypro
That
or,
are vented?
yep,
For somebody
we have
who wanted
vented
a
ones.
big fish dinner, and they're
Yep.
using a 10 by 13?
Yeah.
We have those. They're also available in the sugarcane baguettes. We have a couple different options for that. So
How about 8 by 8s?
8 by 8's no problem. We got
In
plenty.
your folder, there's a pricing sheet of what we have in stock. We have 8 by 8s in stock. Yeah.
So, oops. Okay. So, questions. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the questions we have here, and then if you have additional questions. So one of the first was, how does the pricing of alternatives compare to foam? Okay, you have to get used to it that it's going to be 2, 3, and up to 4 times depending on what type of package you're going. But what, in a case, what are we talking about? Sometimes we're talking about, are we moving from 15 cents to 45 cents? It might be, you know, you might be moving, you know, in that direction. So can we build in 30, 40, 50, 60 cents into the cost of our takeout meal? I think you can. And I think you're going to see that customers will return because you're giving them that better experience that I talked about. You're going to give them a better quality product that they paid full price for. And they have every intention for it to be as good as if they were sitting in your restaurant. So let's make sure that we're making that experience great for them. And they're going to come back and buy takeout from you more often. Right? During COVID, certainly the name of the game was having a good takeout meal because those are the customers that kept coming back for their, you know, Wednesday night meal with you.
The problem is it's really just poor timing because of everything else that's gone up. I mean, every single thing in the kitchen now has gone up, and this was the one thing that, you know, you didn't have to add for, and
Right.
now you're going to have to add for this.
Right. So the question is basically he's stating that we're in an inflationary market. There's also supply chain issues on a lot of things. So, you know, you're having supply chain issues. A good operator knows that his price of proteins and vegetables and canned goods and all the staples he has within his operation have gone up tremendously. So it wasn't timed that way. The law was passed before COVID, but it is an unfortunate time for an operator because he's having to pass a lot of his costs on to his customer, and this is another one that he's going to have to pass on. I'll tell you that during this inflationary market, though, people are sometimes more receptive to the increases because they're seeing it everywhere. You can't push your cart down a grocery aisle or down a department store and not see that you're paying more today than you did yesterday. It's just unfortunately a fact that we're currently living.
I think people are seeing in the last 20 months, they probably if anybody owns a restaurant or has a restaurant, they're doing more to-go business. And I don't know every restaurant here, but I think every restaurant here would say they do a very good job of wanting to make a great plate presentation and experience when you're eating in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I would not feel that would be the same experience throwing my shit in a foam container to go. So maybe now's the time to make the experience, because your business is up 30, 40% in to-go business, make the experience of the to-go or the take-home better.
That's a great point. And the gentleman states that to-go business is certainly a larger portion of a restaurant's income right now, revenue right now. And if you can make that,
It
you
should
know,
be the same.
and you all know, as consumers, you all know that if something was good, you go back. If something was bad, you're not going back. If my fried food was soggy, I'm not ordering takeout at least anymore.
If you spill spaghetti sauce on your seat because you don't have a sealed container with your pasta in it, you're probably not going back to get the pasta there.
Yeah.
Not that the pasta was bad, but the experience of
The
it.
experience, the overall experience,
Now's the
absolutely.
time to invest in that. You buy new plates, you buy new silverware, so.
Yeah.
So the second question listed on here is, what container should I switch to? Again, I could only recommend, and I strongly recommend going with an MFPP. Again, these are available, and people think they're a greener alternative. You can weigh the pros and cons, but this will perform as far as, you know, the ability to hold a sauce in and for the length of time, actually in some cases poorer than a foam container. Where the MFPP, as we discussed, has the perimeter seal. It'll hold up to saucy foods better, and I think overall your customer will have a better experience. Next question, can I use the same container for my hot food and my cold food? Absolutely. And what's nice about mineral-filled polypropylene is that it has all the positives of polypropylene. And as I stated earlier, polypropylene can go under a heat lamp, it can go in a microwave, it can handle hot foods, and it's rated up to like 240 degrees, where it can go into this container. Even those of you that have put hot food in a foam container sometimes, it's actually melted the container a little bit. If it's really hot coming out of a fryer or coming out of something, it'll actually can melt the container, where you won't see that as much with this. It just won't happen. So, but you can also put a cold salad in something like this, right? Could I put a side salad in this? Seal it all the way around? Absolutely, absolutely. Can I use the foam I already have after January 1st? The answer is at your own peril. They're going to enforce this law starting on January 1st. So on November 15th, I sat in on a webinar that New York State had put on. They had a judge, they had a court reporter, and then they had about 12 or 13 people that were speaking about this law in front of the DEC. And people were talking about pros and cons. You know, there were people from the convenience store industry that were saying, hey, they're going to have a tougher time moving from a foam cup to a paper cup, and some of the issues that we're going to have, and the expenses that some of the convenience stores were going to have. But of all the groups that spoke, there were actually 3 that had stated that they were going to encourage reporting of those that are continuing to use foam after January 1st. So it's a public record. You could check it out. I mean, they actually were encouraging their members of the environmental organization and also the general public that if you see anybody using foam after January 1st, this was 3 different organizations that said this, they would encourage reporting it to the DEC to make sure that this foam is out of our waste stream. And you could be for it or against it. It's happening. It's happening on January 1st.
So
if you want to risk it.
What they suggest us to do as a restaurant, if we got left over for the foam, what they want us to do with that? Are they buying it back, or are we throwing it away? What do they want us to do?
So the question that was asked is, what am I going to do with the foam that I have left in my restaurant after January 1st? The way that they stated it on this thing is you have to get rid of it somehow.
So it's going to end up in the landfill?
Yeah, you're probably right. And that's some of the hypocrisies of some of the law, but you know, they want it to be not in the future, you know, waste stream. Again, you could be for it or against it, but the law is taking effect, and it is happening January 1st. So my suggestion is make those changes now. Don't go buy another case of foam tomorrow that you think is going to last into January 2nd. It's throwing money away. And I certainly, for the price difference of making up a number, but $15 a case or $20 a case or whatever it is, I don't want to face the fine that I'm going to have to pay. It doesn't make sense.
And frankly, foam right now is very expensive. It's the most expensive. Yeah.
$18,
It's actually pretty close in cost to these now.
Yeah.
And it's not, yeah, it's really not worth it anymore.
So my suggestion is don't buy in. Don't think you're going to outsmart the DEC and outsmart enforcement because I'm going to use it until February. That's it. You're taking a big risk there for fines. And
Does this come, what do we do for coffee to go and things like that?
Paper cups.
You gotta go to paper.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's really the only thing in the market right now is paper, yeah.
And then you gotta sleeve it, right?
Or get double walled, yeah.
Double wall costs you as much.
Yeah, it's almost 6 one, half a dozen the other right now. So it's kind of your aesthetic look.
there is availability right now of the paper cups. So even though there are some supply chain issues, there's.
How about this stuff in, like soup bowls and,
Yep, so on that, we touched briefly, but so there's the plastic versions, there's deli combos, cold and hot, and then there's paper versions too that are lined that can hold soup,
You see
broth,
up on the
anything.
screen there's those white
Yeah.
containers. Those are an excellent container for soup. They're readily available. They seal very well. There's
Yeah.
slightly offset venting on there that will allow it so the lids don't pop up. It's a great experience. You know, I kind of call them, everybody kind of knows Ben and Jerry's ice cream, right? They kind of remind me of a, smaller version of a Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and you can eat soup out of it, and so that's
And one thing we did, and you'll see it actually when you leave in the showroom, a lot of those products we now are in-house going to break down into smaller quantities. So if you want to try, 24 of them versus 250 of them to test them out, all of the packages are already available in the showroom.
So one thing that's going to happen from this, and that I see, certainly I'm optimistic on, is you're going to see new substrates that are going to come out. You're going to see new innovations. You're going to see things that people never thought about because the need to switch to better and better packaging. So we have what's available to us, but there's the future. And there's an item that I saw recently that I'll show you briefly that I feel is the future. You may have started to see this. They have commercials, they have everything, but there's aluminum cups now. Okay? So Gerharz has these in stock. They're able to get them. This is a stock print aluminum cup. It's certainly more than a foam cup, and it's more than a paper cup. But it's a solid cup that is 100% recyclable. Just to talk about aluminum, I was hearing some statistics, and just excuse me, I'm directionally accurate here when I say this, that all aluminum that was made since like the 50s, so of all aluminum that was ever made, 70% of it is still being used. Like what maybe was your grandmother's screen door might be the rims on your car right now. So there's nothing that's even close. Something might have 1 life or 2 life. Aluminum continuously can be recycled. It's amazing when you look up statistics. There's nothing even close. So this company, Ball, a lot of us know Ball from canning jars, right? They made the aluminum lid. Well, they're a large aluminum manufacturer. They're huge, aluminum manufacturer. And they came out with this cup that, again, on the side of it, the stock print actually says infinitely recyclable, because I can use it once, I can use it a couple of times if I want to bring it home as a souvenir cup from your restaurant, right? And I say, man, I got this cup at, so-and-so's diner or so-and-so's takeout, and it's a nice cup. They may wash it a couple of times, but they're going to remember the dining experience that they had with you because you kind of gave them something a little bit extra. Sure, there's an increased cost, but you could certainly get that back in the cost of a drink, right? People don't. I'm sorry?
Hot or cold?
No, it's really recommended for cold. You cook, it would be too hot for, you'd want to do cold. I mean, there's nothing better, right? There's nothing better than in the summer reaching into a cooler and grabbing an ice cold can of soda or
brand it? I believe so, yeah.
Soda or pop, because it's ice cold. That aluminum can is ice cold, and it seems to keep it colder longer. You'll experience that same thing with this aluminum cup. It will keep the product remarkably colder longer. It just does. It's a great insulator for cold. It really is. So you can get these custom printed. There's a lot of different options with this, but they want to let you know it is infinitely recyclable, and it's right on every stock cup. So currently there are 2 sizes. There's going to be a 3rd size coming out, but you have your 12 and your 16.
Is it a plastic lid that goes on it, I'm assuming?
There isn't. There is one that can be available, but Ball is not promoting it because they feel that the plastic lid, now you're introducing plastic, right, into the
Right,
waste
but
stream.
That's part of the to-go business.
Yep.
It's a big part of
There
the
is,
to-go business.
I have, and we'll discuss that after, but there is a way to put a lid on this, and I can tell you that there are lids available. They don't recommend it, but there are lids that are available. They want to have a lid-free, so that you're taking this and dropping it in with my recycled product in front of my house. And
Right, but nobody that leaves a restaurant wants something that's wide open.
True.
Just don't want it that way.
Yeah. For bars, we actually saw a customer that for a bar restaurant, one of the number one things that were being stolen from his restaurant were mule cups. For those of you who know Moscow Mule and things like that. So those metal cups, they're, I don't know, what are they, $10 a piece? And that was like their number one item that was theft.
I think it's more than that, yeah.
Price of that, but let's call it 10, 11, 12, whatever they were for a mule cup. They went to this. Customer satisfaction is still there. They're still producing that mule, and now the customer, go ahead and steal it. And actually one guy put his name on it And now go ahead and steal it, and now you got advertising in your kitchen cupboard. So there's a lot of alternatives, and this is the future. I'm telling you, there's going to be more innovations that are going to come out. You're going to see better and better. Companies are going to get better, right, with the substrates that they have readily available. You're going to see packaging that, I don't even know about yet, that's going to be coming out in the future that was created by something like this, like a foam bag. Because as more and more states go to it, there are operators that need solutions, and we're certainly here to help you with those solutions. So the last question is, will Gerharz have the alternatives I want in stock? They do. What I'm showing you here today is available here today. So kind of want to wrap this up and ask if there are any additional questions in the audience here today.
What do we offer to carry all these boxes in?
Say it one more time.
Pretty soon they're gonna ban plastic bags, like they did in grocery stores and all that.
Well,
What, the thank you bags that we use now, what do we put all these in for the customer to carry out?
Well, currently for takeout foods, plastic bags are still acceptable in New York State. So, for the corner takeout place, you can get it. Could that eventually change? It could. It's changed for the retail grocery stores and retail stores. But currently I haven't seen anything where they're going to ban it for takeout restaurants because that exact problem. What are we going to carry it out in? But there are certainly reusable bags that are coming into the forefront that you're using to carry your groceries out of a grocery store, and that may happen. Reusable bags are readily available right from here, right from Gerharz, and you could have one logoed, or you could have a stock print that looks great and use it for a takeout meal. Again, that's something you could build into your cost of your takeout, or say, hey, for an additional $1, I could give you a reusable bag, and it could enhance the customer's experience also. Instead of getting it in a plastic bag, it's going to end up in the waste stream. They're going to have a reusable bag that they can use maybe later on when they go buy their groceries or whatever. So there's still options. There's a lot of options out of there. As a matter of fact, all of you that have a bag in front of you today that are in attendance here today, that bag was made out of waste that was taken from the ocean. So it was plastics that were removed from our water streams, in a sense, ground back up and turned into that bag. If you read the side, if you read the orange gusset on the side of the bag, it actually tells you that those bags were made from waste that was harvested from the ocean. So neat, right? Something that's future. Who would have thought that? Plastic bottles from the ocean now are bags. Who would have thought that, like I said, my grandmother's screen door is now a cup, right? The rims from my car could end up being a takeout package later on. So there'll be future innovations, and we're certainly here to provide them to you once they're available.
Right now, a lot of people are using paper too. There's paper handle bags that'll fit your 9x9 flat in the bottom. And that's what a lot of our customers are using. They don't want to use plastic.
Offer customization of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we can help you with that. Mm-hmm.
There's always minimums involved, when they want to do
Yeah.
a certain amount of run, and each substrate has different rules. So just whatever you specifically want, let us know, and we'll get you your pricing and the minimums.
The prices that you have on here is for this stuff right here.
Correct, yep.
And can you tell me what size of this thing right here? I mean, I don't know.
That's the 9x6.
9x6.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That may be the 8.5, depending. You have to look at it. That's the true 9x6.
Oh, I think you only gave us the 9x6s.
Okay.
Because this is a model that we have in stock, so I think we only gave those out.
Any other questions? I appreciate your time that you spent here today, and hopefully it was informative, and stop by and phone.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Let me make sure he's got a 9x9, 9x6.